Okay. By God, we have things to do. Is the camera on? It is not, I don't think. Maybe it was. What's happening here? There you go. Okay. Yeah. Tried to move the camera angle a little bit, and we're gonna keep experimenting with it. Yeah. I watched back the last couple streams and realized that when I hold the unit, I hold him about here to work on him, which on the prior setup meant he was here. Which, yeah, you don't want that. So let me manual focus, turn off the servo, and hopefully this works out. I've tried to pick the base color for this guy, for the whole squad, really. And I think I have an idea. So we got these Vallejo components for pigments, old rust, brown iron oxide. There was a corrosive in here as well, I think. Rust oxide, new rust. So just 4 kinds of rust, you know, for everyone that needs rust. I'm actually a little mad. I discovered a really cool speed paint recently from Army Painter that I really wish I had when I started this, because the overall look of them is very like black armor, and it's fine. But over here, I used a speed paint called, I just have it, Occultist Cloak. An Occultist Cloak is a very dark navy gray, which is actually kind of what I wanted for the Vet Guard look, but it is what it is. You find the colors later, just use them then. So I'm trying to think of how to handle the basing here. Most of what the colors up here are kind of like earthy and red. There's a little bit of green on the back. To create enough separation between the base and them, I feel like I would want to use a bright blue, and then we would oxidize the blue to make it look really weird. Like, just really awkward. Like, it shouldn't exist in the way that it does. I think that might be a good idea. I had a different green, like a turquoisey green idea, but maybe this will work. Because we're just going to apply it to all their bases, and then we're going to go over it with a dry brush that I pulled out that has some pigment on the tip, so we can push some rust pigment, maybe like 2 different colors of rust into it to look like some weird blue rusty planet. That's kind of the thing I like. The going far enough away from like, oh, this is normal. You'd expect dirt and mud like this. To being like, oh yeah, these guys travel to other worlds to try to spread the human empire to like all these different places. Maybe, just maybe, the world they go to isn't just another mudball planet. Maybe it's a planet made of like weird, rich minerals that the Empire needs to make all of its weaponry, and they just need to dominate it. Because if I made this brown, like if I made this a mudball base, like I was originally planning, I feel like it just, you would have lost the character in it. Because my Kroot are like that. My Kroot are very earth tone, and then I made their base very mudball earth tone, so it kind of just panned out that it looks a little too basic, a little too unified. Whereas some of my favorite figures that I've painted so far involve like either bright, vibrant characters and then dark, muddy bases, or the inverse. Like, those are the ones I like to look at. Just because of how they stand out. Now, if I could find a contrast that was kind of like that dark navy gray contrast that's more purple, oh, that would be an ideal. Like a super dark purple. Like a gray purple. I could probably mix something, right? Get like a light purple speed paint and then like a mid-gray speed paint, just mix them together. This might actually have been a better idea to hit with the mica freaking powder. I think I threw out all my mica powder though, because I never thought I needed it again. Oh no, I didn't. I threw out the mica powder because on delivery, like I opened the box and apparently one of the bottles exploded in the box. So like everything I had was coated in mica glitter. Which hella sucks. I think this would be a good moment for the mica powder though, to have like a glitter planet, like a shiny, shimmery, metallic surface. So I decided to do, we're doing the night sweat list for the 4v4 tournament. I do, for multiple reasons. One, nights, not a lot of paralysis on decision making. I feel like I need to put a lot more reps in casual games with my Thousand Suns in order to really catch what I should be doing at the right moments. This is apparently a big issue. You'll see Thousand Suns in solo tournaments, like the 1v1s. Because it feels all right. Depending on how much powder you put the mica powder on, like it actually comes off really shimmery. Like really, really like just, yeah, it's hard to describe. I wish I had, I could have swore I had one on hand, but I can't remember what I did with it. I think, hang on. I think it was my Phobos that I did the mica powder on when I bought it. Or I did something with it. It was either mica powder or it was acid wash, vibrant powders. I know I used blue cobalt on my Phobos though. Let me go grab one so we can take a look. This will be good because it's also like an age thing, because I've had the Phobos for almost a year now. I definitely see the metallic in it. I think this wasn't mica powder though. I think this was the glimmery acid wash powder. You can kind of see the blue burst there. The problem I found with the acid wash powder, I did it over top of a Cloudburst, which is a really dark blue contrast. So I was hitting it and it was like soaking in and it was darkening. But then like after a little while of waiting, I eventually went back and hit it with the vibrant blue. And it's got like a little bit, it feels crystal. Like it feels like it's crystal. Like there's definitely like a, almost like a, what is it? Pixie stick kind of crystalline glimmer to it. Yeah, like someone spilled sugar on the floor. The blue is pretty vibrant though. When I waited for the Cloudburst to finally actually dry and it stopped soaking into it, the blue that I put down is basically this vibrant of a blue that I put over top of a dark surface. I could probably just put pearlescent on these bases and then get some rust down or something. I have some good pearlescence. Which is fun for the split of visual aesthetic, right? Like you got these very human, very military industrial complex soldiers on a bright blue pearlescent planet with like rust all over it. It's that visual split of just like grime and grimdark. And then a planet that feels like a festival. I was worried that the thin crackle paste wasn't gonna crackle enough, but it looks like it did. It's really nice. But yeah, we're going to try it. The full list. Unmitigated by a Kairos that I wanted to just use, which was not a good idea. The Death Guard player on our team does use Chaos Demons, and the rule is in place for team-based play that you can only have one person using any detachment for anything on your team. So you couldn't have a Thousand Suns player, a World Eater player, a Chaos Space Marine player, and a Death Guard player all using Knights and Demons all at the same time. I think that'd be cool as hell, right? Pantheon to literally go to a 4v4 once the Emperor's Children drop. Technically you could do it now, but I mean it's not as cool. But to show up and be like, all right, which version of the Chaos Gods do you want to fight today? And maybe the Death Guard use some demons, maybe Thousand Suns or World Eaters use a Knight, or maybe even Emperor's Children. And then it's just, you're fighting the 4 flavors of chaos. I think that'd be cool. Apparently one of the main things that they said that they were cool with, though, is that I think you could do... I think they said it was fine for you to use multiple Space Marine detachments as long as they're different detachments. Like, you can't just firestorm everyone. You have to sort of pick. It was a little bit specific. It might be that you have to use, like, a side faction. I'm not sure. We're gonna have to set up the airbrush today. I want all of these dogtails done. These guys. I need every single one of them done. Because only 2 of my war dogs have tails, and they look cool. And I kind of want all of them to have tails, because the Chaos Knights list we're running is too big. Desecrator, Castigator. Sounds like a Static X song. Oh no! Uh-oh. I should be using a hand grip just to prevent slippage. It's not the worst, though. Can always go back over it. I'm trying not to, like, hyper squeeze these bases. We'll hit it with some Massey Desert in a second here. I'm also very tired. Frickin' brain was going haywire last night. I was just thinking of stuff. I'm getting too hyped for the potential of this 4v4 and actually trying to take a real list to it. I wouldn't say it's a real list. I feel like most knights understand that they're not winning on their own, that they need allies. But because my teammate is taking demons, I don't have allies. So I'm going to have to make sure that whatever I do for the game is going to be specific. And I've been thinking about it. I've been planning. No, yeah, I kind of wish I had Micah. Like, I didn't know I was going to go this route. I thought I was going to try to make their bases copper and then make the copper rust. But if I had the mica dust that I used to have that exploded that I got rid of because, you know, exploded. It would have actually looked really cool because I could have just dry brushed the blue to be powder on the edge of their coats in some of the crevices. It would have looked really nice. It's the best way. Like, if you have a series of powders, powder and pigment, that's related to colors you like to use on your bases, it's quite possibly the best thing you can do for base work. Because you can just make simple bases like what we're doing here. Simple texture paste. And then you just hit them with a little bit of the color. And then you do the brighter color. It's usually like, let's say you have a red pigment, like a bright red pigment. What you're going to want to do is hit the base with like a dark red brown and then hit it with the bright red on top of it. And just push it into like the boots and stuff as well. And it brings everything together. It makes the unit look like it's on the surface. Right now they look like they're kind of separate. They're visiting the surface. They're just hovering slightly above it. But I think when I pick one of these pigments to push into their coats and the ground at the same time, it's going to make them look settled in. I was kind of hoping one of these rust pigments would have been red, though. A little disappointed. Pigment purchases is weird. I think that's probably the next spot. I don't even know how you do this, though, because, I mean, it's pigments. It's the science of, like, what goes into a pigment, whether or not it's a chemically good idea to sell it to someone. Because if you have a really bright yellow pigment powder, there's probably, like, cadmium or something in it that you don't want someone to inhale. And if they open the jar of just pigment, they're going to inhale it. Like, no matter how many warnings you put on that bottle to be like, hey, before you open this, maybe think about putting on a respirator, maybe do it outside. You know, make some good choices with your life. No one's gonna do that. They're gonna open it in a basement. So when you look around for pigment, for basing, like when I was looking around, I just couldn't find, I wanted flat blue. I didn't want mica powder blue. I wanted flat blue. I wanted it to just be a flat color. I didn't need it to be glitter. But then they were like, hey, you definitely want this glitter. It's like, all right, I guess. I think we hit this with pearlescent. Once we're done the blue coat, we'll go back over with pearlescent. Then we'll hit it with the dust. And we're done. And then we're gonna bust out. I built a box meant for airbrushing. Has a filter in the back of it, a HEPA filter. One of those big air conditioning HEPA filters. So that it can capture pigment and chemical as you spray into it. Just a mini hood, basically. But homemade. Homemade hood. So we'll have to clean the table off. Just get this up here, because I really want these tails done, man. We're going to get the tails done. I'm going to pull the knights out. We'll glue them on. The tails shouldn't take long. The tails just need to be black gold. I want to say we then go back over it with a black paint for the undertone, or silver. I got to pull out the ones that I already have, so we can figure that out. They do kind of look like they're in an aquarium, though. Like this color used to be a common aquarium stone color. Like a bright blue turquoisey color. Looks like they're invading the goldfish tank. But yeah, the knights, the team, the plan. I don't think I can tack mission them. I think I have to fixed. I think the fixed is going to be related to engage on all fronts. And here's my rationale, right? So a lot of the tactical missions, some of the fixed as well, require you to take a unit, put that unit on a point, and then do an action. Now, this is fine when you have access to really cheap allies. It's why Imperial Knights are so good. It's because they have very cheap allies, usually ones that actually have lone op, that they can just toss on something and go, all right, I'm cleansing it. Hey, what kind of coasting do you have to hit them with to make them a water safe? I'm gonna break this one down. Hang on. What kind of coating do you have to hit them with to make them water resistant, or are you talking about like preventing scratching, stuff like that? I have a matte varnish that I use. It's a Army Painter matte varnish. It's the satin or anti-shine, I think. I think it's anti-shine. It actually flattens it out, which I really like. So if you paint metallic, if you put metal, just straight up metal onto something, and then you hit it with varnish, the metal actually flattens out. It'll still do metal things. It'll still reflect light, kind of like metal, but it won't have the peak whites. Oh, to make them an aquarium toy? Ooh. I don't even know, man. You're gonna have to hit them with something serious to like seal it. Maybe like a UV resin that you coat it in and then just hit it with UV to seal it completely. That's all I can think of. Like you basically just need whatever just gets all over it and prevents anything from coming off of it at all from water, which is going to have to be a pretty serious shell, because if you consider everything on this is water-based paint, I imagine if you put it in a fish tank for like a week and come back, you're going to start noticing that some of the paints are no longer on the model. And at that point, I don't even know the value of it, right? Because I feel like if you UV resin the whole thing, it might make it too glossy or make it just weird looking. That's all I can think of. Speaking of which, I'm gonna have to figure out, do I need to varnish these tails before I glue them on. I think that might be something I have to do. So if I finish painting the tails, I'm just gonna have to move them over to the varnish box and then get them varnished before the end of the day, so I can glue them on Thursday. I think this blue mixed with the fine pumice could make for an actually like good lake color, like a nice vibrant ocean color. You could base the entire thing that you want water in that and then do like a white gray in another. Put that a little bit on top and just hit it with an airbrush, and I think you could get a very similar result to their the Vallejo like water texture paint. Almost done the blue bases. What's up, Rax? How does it go with you? Oh, also we did a tester model for the breachers. Still gotta get the pipe color done, but I think these guys are pretty close to kind of like a fireman. I didn't really need them to be fully firemaned out. I like the idea of them having like a copper armor, because copper isn't common in armor color in the 40k universe, to the point where you probably will not find copper or metallic paints within the Citadel line. I think it's mostly brass, bronze, silvers, and golds. And the only copper paint I found is a copper speed paint from the Army Painter line, and it does not look good. I've tried to use it 3 times. It looks terrible every single time. I've tried to do it in like a limited fashion over top of another color. Still looks bad. Like the copper pigment just goes on as like this weird flat pigment. I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's not a good color. So I've been trying to find something to make something look copper, so that we could do like a copper armor. 'Cause I thought it'd be kind of cool. All right, when this is done, we hit up the pearlescence. Super excited about that tournament, though. So much of me wants to sit around and just stare at rules to make sure I got everything down. I'm trying to figure out a way to speed up play, though. I think one of the main things is whoever my opponent's going to be, I need to ask what their common toughnesses are, since I don't have that down. I feel like I've been pissing people off that I play by constantly asking what the toughness is. I have this thing built into my head where when I target your squad and then I roll to hit, right? So I roll to hit, that happens. The way my friends and I used to play all the time, which I guess isn't a common way to play for some reason, is after you roll to hit, your opponent says out loud the toughness of what you're shooting at. I do it. I actually passively do this, and I notice no one else does. So I'll shoot at like a squad of Sisters of Battle, and then I'll pick up the dice that I hit with, and I'll look up and I'll look at the person, because I'm expecting kind of that pre-established thing I've been doing for years of, okay, say 3 to my face so that I know what I need to roll. And then the person's looking at me like, what are you looking at me for? And I'm like, oh no. Oh no, my pacing. The way that I know how to play this, it's gonna collapse. All right, let's get that pearlescent ink out. Ooh, is this the violet one? Pearl violet. Super good. I might have a regular pearlescent though. I think I have a high flow pearlescent, which would not be good to apply now that I'm thinking about it. Brilliant blue. I could have swore I had a regular pearlescent. Silver. Guess I don't. Guess I only have violet. I never got into the Lord of the Rings game. I've seen it. I remember when it first came out, my actual local store, like my 5 minutes from my house local store, who most of their existence is built around Lord of the Rings. I mean, Jesus Christ. They celebrate Bilbo's birthday for a day of sales. When Games Workshop dropped the Lord of the Rings IP as a tabletop game, they were like, yo. So they set up this whole table up front to constantly run that game. To constantly be like, yo, check this out. You get to experience the world of Lord of the Rings. Ooh, I'm liking this. Pearlescent ink. Kind of makes it a little iridescent in its shadows. But yeah, I never got into it. And I keep hearing people be like, it's cool that it's Lord of the Rings, but it's also not cool that it's Lord of the Rings. And I'm like, what? Like, which one? I hear that it's narrative and it kind of follows the story, or is this the one where you, let me get some on his feet like dust. Or is this the one where you pick like a faction and you actually play like a tabletop war game with the faction? I'm trying to remember. I remember the models look cool. Didn't they just release a new model for it, or was that something else? I thought they released their first clear plastic model, or was that for the Death faction of AOS? Remember that was the whole thing where they were like, hey, you just get this blue clear plastic model. You can just put it together and you're done. But if you're really skilled, you can make a glaze paint and you can get some fade. You can do a fade color, which is pretty cool. Dude, I'm playing Gigantic because I want to play it until the day it dies, which I expect. Like, one of two things is going to happen, right? I'm approaching this Calvin and Hobbes style, expect the worst kind of situation. That way you can always be pleasantly surprised. That actually looks really cool. Can you guys see that? That weird like purple shimmer? Oh, that looks so good on camera. Oh, it looks so good. It actually does look really cool. I like it. Because it's like, hey, it's blue. Wait a second. So one of two things is going to happen with Gigantic. Gigantic is going to keep going the way it's going, which is what I expected. The thing is, this isn't I feel the fault of the game developers necessarily. This is a fault of where gaming is as a whole right now, and where it's going. Like, this is a game out of its time, basically. It's just way out of its time. It's super enjoyable for people like me who love the idea of play and counterplay in competitive games that have abilities and stuff. In a way where, like, you create a team, that team is set, and you can kind of adapt that team to fit certain roles and do certain things that could maybe overcome your opponent and the decisions they're making. I love that. I love that in a game. There's so many layers of depth. It's just a wonderful game for someone like me who loves tactics, strategy, all that stuff. And it's a thinking person's game, which means it's not going to do well. There's going to be a small handful of people who become insanely good at it, which is how it happened back when the game was first coming out. And then what's going to happen is those people are going to keep stomping new people. And if there's something you need to learn about humanity, it's this. Human beings don't like adversity. They don't like to be challenged. They don't like to come up against something. Like mostly when they're looking for entertainment, and even beyond that to a little bit. Like, we talk about this all the time on the Spawncast. It's the idea that when someone gets home from a long, hard day at work, they don't want to sit down and be challenged. They don't want to sit down and be made to feel inadequate by a video game that's supposed to be entertaining. So whenever a game does that to them, they usually just say it's a shit game, and then they stop playing it. They tell everyone to not play it, blah, blah, blah. That's Gigantic. Gigantic is that game, because we're at the point now, we're basically seeing a very sped up version of what I played back when it first came out, which is everyone was playing it for a long time. Everyone was trying to figure it out. Everyone was trying to get the mechanics down, understand the characters, how they work together, cool combinations, cool concepts. I remember having full-blown conversations with the competitive team that I was on at the time. Like, this was the first game where I was on a team that played in tournaments. Like, properly. And having the conversations with them about, like, oh, well, this character will give us all armor. We could go a pretty big armor build, and it's going to make most teams have a problem getting through us with their DPS. Even if they have armor break, we'll also have cleanse. So if someone calls out that armor breaks out, then we can cleanse that, which gives you back your full armor amount. And it's like that type of stuff, it was in play for us. And it was getting really cool. And then what happened in the community over years was that a lot of people started to stand out as really good at the game. And then a lot of people started to just kind of coast until the game outran them. And then when the people in the game outran them, they moved to an easier game. Which means we lost our community, which means the community lost interest overall, which means it wasn't a lucrative game, which means Microsoft sold the game to Perfect World. And then Perfect World shuttered it when it wasn't successful within like a week. Choose a faction with allies. Most of the models I had were gray on sprues. I mean, as long as the rules are cool, it's good. And the weird thing about, I think, the Lord of the Rings IP with Games Workshop is it's almost very safe. Even if it doesn't do well, it's very safe. They're going to try to keep the Lord of the Rings stuff going in one way or another, because Games Workshop has the gaming rights to Lord of the Rings. That's insane. The game's fun. I have so much fun playing it, but in the month and a half it's been out, it has cycled from tons of new players, seeing some cool new stuff going on. Games were wildly swingy. You might get a really hard game. You might get a really easy game. You might get a really balanced game, usual. We're pretty sure there's still a background MMR system in the game, which the more you play and the better you are, the longer your queue time. Either that or they took it out of the standard matchmaking and they're planning on putting that in with ranked matchmaking. That way people will always be able to play each other in regular mode, but that's also not a good thing necessarily, because that means the really good players are always going to be able to crap on the really bad players in that mode. Which I've been on the receiving end of like 5-man pre-mades, like stomping. Within the first minute of the game, they're already in on a strategy. Friggin' Gnosis and everyone starts jumping up over the hill to kill one of the side characters we have. I don't get any backup. I'm calling out, hey, they're coming this way. There's 3 of them over here. You guys left me to prevent them from killing our creature. If you're not going to come back, I have to leave the creature. There's nothing I can do to stop it. Blah, 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 blah. And then, like, at the second time this happens, like, someone on our team just goes, why are you guys so bad at this game? And then leaves. And then that's it. I'm in a game 4v5 against a pre-made, and I'm just like, all right, let me go to this corner over here and wait for the game to end so I can get a new game. That started happening after like half a year of playing the original game. We're already like a month and a half in, it's already happening again. Of course, you consider that, and then you tack on top of it the idea that currently this is being published by Gearbox. Gearbox just got sold by THQ Nordic to 2K Games, I think, was it? So there's a lot going on with Gearbox that's up in the air as to whether or not stuff like this game will be able to continue. The servers will be kept up because it is a server-based game. Whether or not they're just gonna gut it and get rid of it completely, like, we just don't know. No one knows. No one has any clue what's happening. So it is a bit of a worry. But I love playing it. I love competitive games. That's just who I am as a person. I love competitive games. And when someone's like, oh, so you play Call of Duty, I'm like, Call of Duty plays itself for you at least like 40%. I don't consider a game like that to be competitive. Like, when you're watching the average big streamer who constantly plays that game using a controller on PC because the Snap 2 targeting is just too good, it's like, yeah, I don't want to play that game. The game is just made to make anyone feel good by providing them the training wheels that makes them feel like they're doing a lot of good stuff, which kind of goes back to what we just started talking about. People don't like hard games. People don't like having to learn something. They prefer the game to make them feel really good rather than be really good. Which is kind of making communities like the gigantic community very niche. It's also why hacking is so prevalent in games like CSGO, which is apparently a huge thing. I watch a lot of CSGO streamers. Weirdly, like, I don't know why I do, I just do. Like, I have no clue. Don't ask. And apparently, CSGO 2, the anti-cheat program just doesn't work. I was watching Anomaly play on Twitch like all day, and almost every game he was in had at least one cheater. One game he was in, everyone was cheating but them. I hear Lawbreakers. I hear there's that the community push to get the game to come back. I think it's PC only, maybe. Because the guy who made it said that he was okay with them using the code for it. Because I thought he owns the rights to the code, so he could technically use it somewhere else. But if no one wants him to use it, he was like, screw it, whatever. If you guys want to play the game. And you guys can make your own background system for servers and stuff, go for it. I don't even care. But yeah, I've just been playing Gigantic. Whenever I have time to play games, I'm trying to make videos and stuff. We just dropped another hobby video today. So, you know, looking forward to not getting a lot of viewership because it's a hobby video instead of a strategy or news video. But I do want to get a couple hobby videos out just to do it. This tournament coming up Saturday, I'm really hoping I can record it really well so I can actually do a proper tournament report. I'm going to try to take a bunch of notes. I already have the script written and recorded for a Underworlds overview video to go over Underworlds as a game. Not like the rules, but to actually talk about it as a game people might be interested in. Because it's a good game, and the rumor right now is that it might be going away, but it's getting weird, right? So all these rumors dropped in forums recently where they were like, Warcry is leaving. Underworld's going away. Blah, blah, blah. Like, all this and that of, like, oh, they're getting rid of all of this. They're gonna stop making this. They're gonna get just, like, it's just an ocean of, they're stopping all these different formats. They're getting rid of them completely because there's not a lot of interest in them. But then, like, there's been recently just an ocean of people like, yeah, that's not the case. That's just not the case at all. You're talking about stuff you don't know. You're basing it all off of a single forum post somewhere. It's not good. No. Jeez, MTX ATV. One of those people. The, vehicle racing video game people. I used to like racing games way back in the day. I think I had Test Drive, like one of the old ones on PC. Played that all the time. I remember it having the map that goes through San Francisco, so it had that like really hilly area. I remember doing that. You eventually, when you play enough, you unlock the Super Jeep or whatever it is. This is just this Jeep that had massive control and acceleration. I remember just getting to that map with it and being like, I wonder if I can just gas it. So I just hit the gas pedal, went over the first hill, landed at the bottom of all the hills. I was like, yeah, this is great. I love this. And then I just never played a racing game after. Oh, Pearlescent. It's so good. Normally, I just try to apply the Pearlescence to, like, skin tones for my demons and stuff. Speaking of which, we got a lot of demons to paint soon. Not that I need them. I'm also a little pissed. I'm still really mad that one store near me had Morghasts, and then when I went there, they had Morghasts for over a year. Every single time I went to the store, they had Morghasts just sitting there, just staring at me. And I kept thinking to myself, man, these could make really good-looking demon princes. I could just convert them a bit, it'd be great. And then I just talked myself out of it all the time. Just, nope, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna go to something else. I'm going to do something else. We're not going to use these Morghasts. Then the other day, I had that thought, just, I'm going to use 3 flying demon princes. I don't want to have to pay $120 for the 2 extra demon princes. I would rather just pay $70 and do some conversion to make these things look like demon princes. That'd be fine. I have so many bits and green stuff. It'll be cool. $70 for 2 big-ass Demon Prince units that look really awesome, like almost Egyptian dragons that fly. It's pretty cool. And so I go to the store. I'm like, well, finally, we got this. Let's do it. Sold. It's gone. I went online. Amazon sells them for $10 more than Games Workshop sells them for. Games Workshop is sold out. And the other store that I went to said they don't have them. So we'll have to see at this tournament on Saturday if that store has it. Because if they have it, I probably will pick it up. I do want to build a shell game list. I think a shell game list could be really cool. Since Thousand Sun Demon Princes get picked up and then put back down at the end of every enemy round, like the enemy player, end of their fight phase, if I'm not close to anyone, they just get picked up. Then they come back down in reserve phase during the movement. So I just have these 3 really powerful, big-ass units that are quick, capable of going wherever they want. They're considered psychic so that I can put them down and then use temporal shift to move them, I think, 11 inches? Like, they can land within 9 inches of a squad, and then the person's like, haha, you can't get to the corner because I'm here and I'm preventing you from getting... Oh, you're next to the corner now. Like, just, here I am. Alright, which pigment do we think would work best? I want to go this one. Brown iron. I think this one will work. It's where I open it and it powders everywhere and I freak out. Alright, wet the brush a little bit. Try it a little bit. I gotta get my list locked in tonight. I was about to be pissed. I got the tournament packet from this place. And the tournament packet said explicitly, hey, if you don't get your list in by Tuesday, you're going to get docked points from your first game. And the only way to put your list in was to be attached to the tournament through the app that everyone uses. And no one on our team, except our leader, was on the list. And I was about to be like, dude, if we show up and they wouldn't even let me put my list in because they wouldn't attach us to the tournament, and then they just kind of hit us with a, haha, you're docked points. Get fucked, nerd. I was gonna flip a shit. Like, I do not expect to do well this tournament. I still have not put the reps in to make me feel confident that I'm gonna do it. It'd be a cool swing, granted. It'd be a nice, fun Cinderella story. The idea of, oh, my first tournament, I was the second worst player. My second tournament, second best player. It won't happen. Again, approaching this from the Calvin and Hobbes perspective. Expect nothing, be pleasantly surprised. I think it'd be cool, though. Gotta keep my head straight, though. Gotta keep my head straight on it. Because if I do win the first round that we get matched into, I might get like a little bit of a overexcited ego going. Make some bad plays. Oh, dude. So the first worst player in the first tournament I went to, he was on our team. The bottom 3 players were our team. That was how bad it was. I was not prepared for that outcome. He came in with a list that everyone kind of knew from tournament play. It was already starting to get really big in tournaments. It was the Tau tank list. He had almost every Devilfish, Broadside. Like, he had all the tanks that people look at and go, oh, you're an asshole. Like, that's kind of their approach to what they see. Right? What's up, Arturo? So I thought he was going to do well, because the way he was talking about it, he had this kind of confidence in what he built. The whole, oh yeah, I was looking around, I saw some army lists from tournaments, and it looks like this is what was doing really well, so I'm gonna bust it out, I'm gonna use it. So he got tabled in turn 3, turn 2, turn 3. He was almost tabled turn 2, but then completely tabled turn 3 in his first game. Because that was a 3v3, so us as his teammates, we were in turn 3, turn 4, and he was just hanging out outside having a smoke, because he did not do well. Apparently he was fighting Black Templar using whatever the assault doctrine is, or detachment function. So he was able to get Halbrecht to him in one turn. It was very weird. No, yeah, you have to not only know the meta list, you have to watch a ton of games of the meta list going into a ton of different things. You have to see how you play the meta into Horde. You have to see how you play the meta into Armor. You have to witness it. Not only that, but if the map layouts aren't good enough for the meta list, which I don't know if our map layouts were good enough for the meta list, people will usually go, oh, I don't like this. I think it was Advance and Charge, maybe? He just... Apparently turn 1, Halbrecht was on his tanks. Just killing tanks. And there was nothing he was doing about it at that point. Because it's Halbrecht. We all know how Halbrecht is. Halbrecht is the craziest Black Templar stat stick you could possibly put on your team. I'm not looking forward to playing into Orcs. I think I saw a bunch of Orcs and Aldari teams. I think I might be the only Knights player going, which I get. The last tournament I watched that was an 8v8, almost no one played Knights. I think Knights are just... they're hard to play in that system, because Knights are a stat check, right? You could build your list to be anti-Horde, because you expect the meta to be Horde, and then if you play a Knights list, you're probably not going to do well. You're going to have a bit of an issue, and that's kind of the meta check, right? Is how many lists are in the tournament, so what are you going to play against? And if there's Knights in a tournament, they're going to make sure if you get put against them, that you're not going to do well in a, like, a 50-50 fashion almost. No, yeah, orcs are going to be messy. We have an orc player on our team. He plays Beast Snaga. No, he plays the bikers, the mounted orcs. I think he has Beast Snagas, but I think he mostly plays the anti-tank cavalry orcs. He already played that before the codex came out. No, yeah, orcs are solid. Orcs are a great army to pick up right now. I don't expect to do well into orcs as knights, and this is kind of the issue with multiplayer, right? If you know there's a knights player, you probably have an anti-armor person on your team. Okay, you can do it. Just the trick with this one is that matchups are card-based. It's using the same exact system that the 8v8 tournaments are using, where you put... both teams put up a player as an attacker, right? So the attacker is now active. And then both teams reveal 2 possible defenders for that attacker. And then I think the opposing player of the defender chooses which defender the attacker is going to go into. And then the 2 defender lists are placed against each other that don't get chosen. And then whoever didn't get picked in this 4v4 system, because that system's only for 3 people, whoever doesn't get picked gets put into a match against each other. So there's this concept of I could get accidentally put in against teams that aren't good against anti-armor. If we look at their lists and they don't have a lot of anti-tank, they don't have a lot of strength 12 weaponry, or not a lot of stuff above strength 6, I'm looking pretty. But the trick is, I guess we need to figure out which approach of missions do I need to do. And I kind of wish I could just be like, tomorrow or something, just contact everyone on my team and be like, yo, let's go get some halal or something. Let's go get some kebabs. Halal kebab. And let's talk, because I need to strategize not what I'm going to be doing with my people. I kind of get the overall arcing strategy of my list. What I need to strategize is which missions we think are probably pertinent for me to take. Because what I'm looking at right now for myself is this idea that maybe we take engage on all fronts, right? And then we figure out what I'm fighting, what mission it is, and what other thing I can take. If you have a ton of characters, maybe I take assassinate. If you have tanks, maybe I take bring it down. Question, anti-keyword. If something has anti-keyword, does that mean I get XX? No, yeah. It's when it comes to whether or not a dice is successful, the X number is the success. So anti-infantry 2 means for the wound roll specifically, if you roll a 2 and you're shooting into infantry, 2+ just works. There's a lot of Gene Stealer cult weapons that are not that great, but they usually have like anti-infantry 2+. So like the Primus can shoot into an infantry squad and pretty much get guaranteed wounds. But I think his gun is AP 0 and it's not that great on like wound number. So you kind of have to stack it with stuff. You shoot with an Achilles to get the extra -1 AP, and then you fire it into an infantry squad, and maybe it'll do work. Because anti-infantry 2+ means it gets around units that are -1 to the wound roll. Gets around high toughness units, brick units. It could be good. The trick is whether or not it's connected to something, specifically dev wounds, or maybe a special ability the unit itself gets from the wound roll, because the anti is considered the crit level, right? So if I'm dev wounds anti-vehicle 4+, that means I dev on 4+s rather than 6s, which is really nice if you think about it. This is actually kind of working out. I like these. Yeah, and then there's other abilities too that are like, hey, if you crit in the wound phase, you'll also get this benefit, or you'll force the opponent to take a battle shock or something. Like there's some extra abilities beyond Dev that this could also help. But you know, it is what it is. It's actually why I like the Sanctus snipers in GSC. They have anti-psyker 2+ and dev wounds against targets that they choose to be their target. Like the thing they want to hunt. Which you get to choose at the beginning of the game. So if I fight a Tyrannid and it's got those Norn Psychics on its hands, I can target the Norn Psychics and then dev wound 3 wounds per hit into Norns. So nice. Yeah, wound critical rolls. Sometimes with things like sustained and lethal, there will be an ability attached to them that says, oh, by the way, a hit roll of a 5 also lethals or something. They usually get very specific with the better crit roll for lethal and sustained. Are you the one that keeps playing your dad and he keeps playing Death Guard? The Death Guard Combat Patrol? I'm seeing a lot of people in our Discord getting their armies together and then finally getting out to an event and winning. Feels good, man. Feels good talking about this stuff with them on the Discord and everything, and then hearing them be like, oh, maybe that'll work. Oh, that rule makes a lot more sense now. And then, like, a week later, I won a tournament. I won the event that I went to. Feels really cool. I like it, at least. Yeah, knights have a ploy that targets multiple war dogs and then targets a single unit, and if that unit's battle shocked, sustains on 5. If not, then it's just regular sustained. There's a lot of battle shock interaction with knights, which is probably their biggest issue. They need that detachment that doesn't care about battle shock for them to be useful in other people's eyes again, since battle shock feels like such a waste. All they need to do is make it so that a battle shock unit has to continue taking battle shock tests until it tests out of battle shock. The idea that the battle shock gets wiped if the unit's not at half strength, and then that's it, I don't know, it's not that great. Battle shock is strong though. I watched a Tyrannid versus Thousand Suns game on Wargames Live, and turn 2, I want to say, top of turn 2 for the Tyrannid or the Thousand Suns player, the Tyrannid player did the scream, the psychic scream that required a bunch of battle shock tests. Basically every squad gets a battle shock test. He failed pretty much every single squad. Every squad he had on the field, everyone that was holding a point, all failed battle shocks, which means none of them were able to hold points in turn 2 to score. And Thousand Suns, you have to not be battle shocked in order to provide Cabal points. Which meant he had no Cabal points to play with as well in turn 2. And that was it. Like, that was the end of the game. The psychic shock heard round the world. So I do think I think Battle Shock still feels wild, right? When I tested a game involving my Thousand Suns with Blue Horrors against the Aldari at my local store, I wanted to try it out, and my Aldari player opponent wanted to try some stuff out for himself as well. So we were just testing things, and I remember by about like turn 2, I had most of his squads at half. And almost every single time, I had his squads at half and I had his Falcon Grav at half. And every single time he attacked, or it went to his turn, it was just watching him fail all of his Battle Shock tests. Every single one. The Falcon Grav tank kept failing. His leader's Farseer squad kept failing. So his Farseer stopped getting points on the home base objective for the mission we were playing. He also stopped providing the benefits that he normally provides to things. Like, oh my god. And it's such a wildly random thing to the point where while we were playing, when he was rolling the Battle Shocks, when he was starting to roll them, the assumption when he started doing it was that it's just like a formality, right? Like, oh yeah, I'll roll these dice and we'll just keep playing. No, every single time he rolled those dice, it was a problem. I didn't have anything on the field that negated his Battle Shock either, or negated any of his leadership. It was just raw leadership on Aldari, and he was just constantly failing it. So Battle Shock sucks, but it also has the chance to absolutely destroy any of your plans as a player. Right. Like, just annihilate your plans. You might think you know what you're about to do. Nope. Okay. Basing done. Paint the rings black once I wash my hands off because I'm covered in pigment now. Close this up. It looks kind of cool because you see the blue coming through it. It still feels like a regular planet surface, I feel like. Like the red pulled it back to like a normal Martian planet surface, but then that blue coming in from underneath of it just gives it a little bit of extra oomph. Like maybe there's some kind of weird mineral or rock vein going through the planet surface. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's so brown. But yeah, Battle Shock can be impactful, but you can't rely on it. I know a lot of people say it's not impactful. It is, but you cannot rely on it. It's the most impactful, unreliable current thing in 10th edition. A lot of people will point to like casino guns, like the D6 or D3 guns, as some of the worst impactful things in the game because, I mean, you could fire 6 times, you could fire 1 time. Good luck. Finish washing my hands here. Let me actually wash them. But then you get over to things like Battle Shock, and it's just... You could shut down your opponent's OC. Prevent them from being able to spend command point functions on themselves. You could. Or not. Or it could just not happen. It's actually why I kind of like autocannons more than other guns. Because autocannons have just flat numbers. But everyone's just like, dude, you need this 3d6 cannon. It's so good. I feel like they're trying to trick me, right? Like, if you're gonna tell me I need a 3d6 cannon to do some good work, what I'm hearing is you want me to play with a unit that can do anything between 3 and 18 shots completely randomly every phase that it can shoot. And it's just, I don't know if I want to do that. I think that's a dumb idea. I still do it. I still do it a lot. But let's see. The only casino function in my knights list is the damage number on the Desecrator las cannon and the damage numbers on the meltaguns, and that's it. Everything else is flat. Oh no, the havoc launchers. Havoc launchers are also casino for the amount of attacks. All right, black basing, and then we got to get my airbrush stuff out. $3d3 does round the bell curve. It's why Magnus is incredible. But you also have to consider plasma cannons are extremely powerful. They're 1d3. The fact that you get 3 plasma cannons on a Forge Fiend is probably the reason the Forge Fiends are as good as they are. Because that means firing into a single squad, it is 3d3 with blast, which is super nice. But if you're a Hellbrute and you have 1 plasma cannon, you're either hitting them 1 time or 3 times. You really want to hit them 3 times. And then if it's a squad, you actually get some blast points, which is nice. It's a nice. But then you look at things like, I think it's the Gatling cannon. Despoiler. If I were to run a Despoiler, I would want my Despoiler to be midfield, in my opinion. Friggin' Demon Breath Thermal Cannon, 2d3, it seems so nice. But yeah, a lot of people are like, dude, Despoiler Battle Cannon, d6 plus 3. So, it's okay. But it's still between 4 shots. It does get rapid fire though, but the rapid fire, I mean, that's really where it's at. The stacking of d6s is nice. Havoc Missile Pod, though. D6 plus 1, not so good. So what is it? It's D6 plus 3 up to 36 inches. 36 inches then gets 2d6 plus 6. That's why people like that. I don't like it that much. But I mean, I guess it's the AP 1, damage 3, strength 10. That's not that bad. Strength 10 I feel like is kind of shit though, into larger toughness items. But you don't really get to toughness 20. You want to stay away from strength 6 though a bit. Strength 6 is not great. So the Gatling cannon with a guaranteed 18 attacks is like, alright. God, it's such a weird thing. It's just a weird thing. I'm happy with the Desecrator. Desecrator's great. 2+ to hit on a las cannon. Let's go. Like 3 shots. Friggin' dev wounds against monsters and vehicles. Strength 18. The only question you need to ask your opponent, is it toughness 9 or is it toughness 10 and above or no? If not, anything but ones. I don't have any red on my fingers. So we're gonna touch the unit. I see the point of taking the Despoiler, but I really prefer The Desecrator bonus of re-rolling hit rolls of 1. You long leash that into a bunch of brigands. Oh, it's so good. So good. The question is, how much do we want to airbrush? I don't know how much time I have today. What time is it? 1:17. So at the very least, I want to get these tails started. And then if the tails are started and I feel we have a good bit of time left, I think maybe we prime... Because here's the thing. I'm going to have to turn my microphone off for the bulk of this, and then I'll turn it back on when it's time to talk, because there's no way that this lapel mic I'm using does not pick up my airbrush. This lapel mic hears the lawnmower outside this house when it's being run. But we should be able to, depending on how much time it takes to get the tails done, or at least started, because they just need to be black and gold, which is fine. What I can do is we can pick one of my Underworlds teams and start painting it. Because a lot of how we're going to finish painting it is actually going to stem from the airbrush. We're going to do a lot of airbrush techniques to get the skin tones, get the general colors. We're going to get most of the project done specifically with just an airbrush, which I think is a good idea. I think it's a good way to approach it. We have enough colors. We have enough function that I think I can get a pretty fun flesh tone on Mogrog. The idea with Mogrog is that his outer limbs are going to be like a green, kind of like a mossy green. But then his midsection's actually going to be like a fleshy color. I think that's going to look weird, because he's going to look like a nudist troll. It'll be great. Oh, I do not expect to do well at this tournament. I have to rein it in though, right? The orcs that I played the first time with the partial version of the list I'm about to take to this tournament got the luckiest advance rolls ever. Swear to you, he rolled 4-6 advance rolls during his WOG phase because he was too far away. I actually spaced it. This was a game where in my movement phase actually, for turn 2, I literally measured. Like, the whole thing for me was, all right, I need to shoot him, but I also want to prevent him from being able to follow up easily. So what ends up happening is I take a look at my data sheet and I go, all right, I need the brigands to do what they do. So I need them within Avenger chain cannon range. So I literally max ranged everything, 24 inches. That's all I did. I was, all right, I'm 24 inches. That's it. That's all I need. 24 inches. Everything's in place. Everything's long leashed. They're near the castigator. They get their sustained ones. Like, 24 inches. That's all I need. So in the following turn, he had to move 24 inches to get to me. And he did. Like, he just did with every squad he had. He went, all right, this is WOG phase, advance rolls, all 6s, baby. I'm in your face. I put the effort in to make sure he couldn't do that, and he did it. That's one of those games where I love seeing people on the 40K strategy channels who kind of run that rhetoric of like, you don't lose with dice rolls, you lose in your strategy. I lost with dice rolls there, baby. I fully lost with dice rolls. I don't care what they say. My opponent's dice rolls made me lose. Dude, these look good. I love them. I love them. I love the blue peeking through the basing powder. No, he did not. That day, he was just like, nah, brah. I see you using Kairos. That's a mistake. I want you off this table. I think that game was done in like an hour and a half. Because the trick is, so we know his list. He's going to be on my 4v4 team. We know his list is anti-armor. So if we know there's a list he can go against that is anti-armor, this is going to be the interesting part of the team choosing, right? If somebody puts down an armor list as an attacker, and we put him as a counter to the armor list, he's probably not going to take him. But then if they put their attackers down and one of their attackers is an armor list, then they kind of have to seal the deal and make the armor list, or we could seal the deal, or they have to consider sealing the deal. Like, I wonder how many... We can view lists. Apparently for this tournament, we're going to be able to view the lists now. Like, most people have their lists up. I could literally pull them up for you guys right now and start going over what's in the list in preparation. That's what these multiplayer tournaments are all about, is preparation, so that we know, all right, well, Dumpster Fire has these teams and these lists. They're this focused on this kind of thing, blah, 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 blah. And that way we kind of have a pre-existing plan going in if we face them. Like, if they're the first team we face, we kind of want to know, like, oh, they have so many armor lists. Let's look for this unit. If they post it as an attacker, we can try to force their hand by putting 2 anti-armors on that attacker. And then they have to make a call, and then maybe they put another armor list on their attacker side, which will force it into our defender. Like, it's a whole thing. It's a whole multi-layered, just crazy concept that I really like. We are using differential scores, though, so... Man, everyone moves in, like, weird ways. I don't understand the point of differential, but I guess I kind of do, since it sort of simplifies things a little bit. Because I guess if you don't beat your opponent by 5 points, like if you don't beat the team by 5 points, I think on an individual basis, the points are the points, right? So out of all 4 players, 1 player needs to win by 2, and then the rest need to win by 1 for the differential, and then that's a victory, I think. It might not be 5 points for a 4v4. It might be less, but we're apparently doing differentials. Still requires you to track your score like normal, but then you have to convert it to differential status. I am getting a chess clock today, actually, I think. It should be in today. I'm going to see what it's like. Got to get used to the idea of it. Because I think they give... Each game is 2 hours, which means I think both players get like 1 hour or something. Or they get like 45 minutes because setup is a specific amount of time and you don't go back and forth during setup with the time clock. So much to prepare for. So much to do. I'm intrigued though. I'm happy, man. I'm getting some games in. Some real games. Some solid games. Now I just gotta find some kill team tournaments locally. Start planning to go to those. Dude, this so flat black is so good for doing base rings. I'm happy I went with it. I think my buddy used Pro Acryl Mars Black or Coal Black. That one looks good too, but this so flat one. Like I see ripples in it when I'm done brushing. But then when it dries, that is actually just solid. Like that is just a solid black ring. What's up, Long Furby? Yeah, we're finishing them up right now. We did blue bases that we then pearlescented, and then we went over it with rust pigment to try to pull it towards like a Mars red that you can kind of see like a blue cobalt type thing peeking through. Which I think is pretty poggers. Getting the rings done now. I'm going to toss them in my varnish box. So I can varnish them before we leave. Then we're going to clean this surface area up a little bit and get some stuff. Because we're going to airbrush on this table in front of the camera. Got a tournament coming up Saturday. I'm playing my knights. There's a lot of war dogs involved, And only 2 of the war dogs I've made have their tails. I think I might actually put a little more pigment on this guy. Maybe. There's a picture in one of my meme folders of a Furby that they put human dentures in. I mean, for the most part, the knights are... it's weird. We were talking about it earlier. Knights are really a stat check army. They're sort of like a force of nature that needs to exist within the scene to force a state of balance a little bit. Because armies that are overwhelming in people but not in strength can't really handle knights. Knights can usually focus fire whole big squads down fairly easily. But then, you know, anti-tank with like a decent amount of people, they usually can. They can usually handle knights, no problem. No real issue there. But without knights, I think certain metas run rampant, right? So the fact that knights exist is sort of that, like, always in the back of your mind checked. Yeah, I'm switching from T-Suns to Chaos Knights for this tournament specifically. I need to put more reps in with T-Suns. I was recently watching a tournament where they brought this up because, I mean, almost every single tournament I've seen up till now has had T-Suns in it. And this tournament had no T-Suns at all. It was a low T tournament, if you know what I mean. And it didn't, it was like, I was wondering why, right? And then the host, someone came over to hang out with the host who goes to a lot of tournaments, does a lot of the tournament scene stuff. And they talked about it. They actually sat down for a second and went, oh, yeah, it's for these reasons. These are the reasons. And the reasons, this is brown oxide. I think we used brown oxide, right? Yeah. The reason was pretty simple. T-Suns do well in the right hands, but in people who don't know enough about your opponents, for people who don't have that mental connection right now with all the different teams, squads, types, toughnesses, everything. You need to know everything. You can't, with T-Suns, play in a way where you just kind of like meander. You can't just do something because that's the thing you need to do for yourself. Like, that's the only thing you really have an option of doing. You can't. You have to look at it and go, well, what does this get me 2 turns from now? What is the benefit of doing this in this moment? Am I cool losing 4 points for potentially then in the future getting 15? No problem. Like, there's this level of analytic paralysis that people get hit with in tournaments that isn't good. So like, one of the key issues is basically that in a round you only have 2 hours to play. But if you're going to play a proper T-Suns game, you need to be thinking 10 steps ahead. like at all times. So normally for players who don't put the reps in with its team, all you're doing at that point is you see what your opponent does, and then your movement phase takes like 20 minutes. Because you really need to be like, what do I need? You have to have that moment, that churning moment in your head of, these are the Cabal points I have. Do I use it for mobility? Do I use it for damage? Do I use it for defense? What's the goal here? What am I doing? And then you have to pre-plan it all, assume certain things are going to happen, assume you can change certain things with the benefits you have access to, and then make the call. So you can't easily do that in a tournament where the rounds are not that long. You just can't. You have to be faster. Which kind of sucks. Because that means you can't get like the full effect out of the T-Suns. And a lot of people are seeing them in 1v1s because they do really well against most teams, but there are certain types of teams that just easily can handle them, pretty much. So in a 4v4 tournament or team tournaments, which are now becoming the norm for a big tournament meta, T-Suns are not great because you can kind of counter pick. And counterpicking the T-Suns is a great way to just make them not useful. If you pick a team that's gonna outmaneuver them or outspeed them, there's nothing you're doing. If you're gonna pick a team that can actually survive through most of their spells, not much they're doing. It's just a difficult system, that's all. And team tournaments let you build that way too. Like, that's the thing. I could build my Knights list, which technically I did, right? If you look at my Knights list kind of anti-infantry. Like, here's the thing. I could remove the Desecrator. I could replace it with a Despoiler. At which point I'm going to have a Despoiler, massive damage saturation across the field, Gatling cannons, all that fun stuff. I'd probably go Flamer and Gatling cannon because you would, if something deep strikes near it, you want to basically kill it with the Flamer, no problem. So you got your Gatling cannon, you got your Flamer, you've got the missile launcher on its back, all that fun stuff. I could go that. That is a lot more anti-infantry focused than what my army list is. My army list is decently mid-tier, mid-elite tier crushing, with a really solid anti-tank, anti-monster singular unit that sits back and threatens a large area of the board. That's the whole purpose of this list. So it's a little bit of a flex. It's a flex list, basically, is what we're trying to say here. But in a 4v4 tournament, I could go, you know what, I'm going to go all anti-infantry. I'm going to go all anti-infantry. If somebody puts up a defender on the board that's that is an infantry army, put me in there. Put me in, coach. I am bulk anti-infantry. I am completely fine. I've got a front line that's all melee. I'll brawl. I'm completely fine brawling. It's great. I've got all these guys that can sit back and fire off like 100 shots with blast across the field. I'll wipe out squads, no issues. But if you put me against armor, I can't do shit. So that's like the thing. Like, I could fill that role. That's the fun part about this approach to tournaments. You're not trying to build a list that can deal with everything. You're trying to build a list that can deal with one thing way better than any list you could build. That way, when you're put against them, you're gonna hear a loud pop there. Yeah, varnish box. That way, when you're put against, or someone puts their lists up and you're like, ooh, that's anti-tank. Or no, or they're like, ooh, this is a tank, this is a heavy armor army. And our orc player, who has bulk anti-tank, anti-monster units, it's like, yep, we found your unit. We found where you're going. You're definitely going to be you're definitely going to be fighting this thing. So like maybe that. Maybe I gotta think about that. I don't know. Because brigands are kind of universal. Brigands are great at just generally shooting into horde as well as vehicle. I do take executioners, which are great at meleeing horde, but then shooting vehicles and monsters. Dude, when I played into his anti-tank, this was when they were not a codex. They were not a codex when I played them. They crushed me. Freaking like 4 or 5 advance rolls of 6 in his WOG round. In round 2, he was on top of me. He crushed my entire front line. All of it. Every last unit I had was just gone. It was almost instantaneous. I couldn't do anything about it. It was just dead. Exalted on disc, yeah. I have a list that uses 2 of them. Just in case. One of them has the frickin' Lord of Forbidden Lore. The other one usually is just basic. I think I might give him an Arcane Vortex. I don't know. But I usually twin Exalted on disc. Sit behind walls. Outmaneuver opponents. Because a disc is 11. Or I think he's 12 on his own. Let me take a look. He's either 11 or 12 on his own. The thing is, then you put him in a squad and he goes 5. That's why no one puts any disc wielders on squads most of the time. If your opponent doesn't have anti-air, you can. It's not a big issue. But you usually want these guys to be fully mobile the entire game. Dude, mine lasted so long. I used one of them into the Aldari player I went against. That guy dumped so many shots. I kept him safe for 3 turns. Then he pulled Assassinate out of his card deck. So my guy was up and he was like, all right, I have to go for your guy for the points. So I'm going to go for your guy. He rushed him down to kill him. Between the 4+ invulnerable and the command point to negate damage, did nothing to him. He has 6 wounds. That's way more wounds than you'd expect. Like, that's crazy. He's so good on his own, despite not being a lone op. It was kind of cool to experience him. 4+ invuln, 6 wounds, the ability to reroll, usually saves if you want to go that route. Like, dude, he's so fun. So one of my lists runs 2 of them for that very reason. Move up, get within range. At the end of your movement phase, binding tendrils, 2 different targets. Split the bindings into 2 different people so that they're half speed and all that stuff. Then, if you don't want to be there, if that's a scary place, you then spend 10 Cabal points total, making it so both of them can leave. Like right away, and we're gone. And then they go somewhere else completely and do whatever the hell they want wherever they're going to go. Maybe they have to go to corners or something and get point. Like they do something else. They just go do something else. And now you have 2 enemy squads that are just like, well, okay, I can't go anywhere. It's great. I love them. They're some of my favorite units. Let me put the Kroot in here. So I can have all the stuff I need to varnish in this box. Then we're going to pull out the airbrush box. Set that up real quick. We're going to get the airbrush set up so we can get these tails done. And then possibly Mologs. We'll get started. Hell yeah. That's the Ahriman bomb. I haven't done it. I don't own rhinos. I just don't own rhinos. I should probably grab a rhino or two, because that's the Ahriman bomb. The issue is you usually want Ahriman on field because he has a good amount of Cabal points. This is the biggest problem with Thousand Suns, is the balance of putting stuff on field for the Cabal points versus not. I want to run a shell game list that involves 3 winged demon princes, but Cabal happens at the end of the command phase. If you pick the demon princes up, they're gone. Like, they're not there. You lose 6 Cabal points. Just straight up, 6 Cabal points gone. If you give one of them an Umbralific, because you're not expecting, if you get first turn and you need to move somewhere, usually one of them will have an Umbralific on them, so you can teleport it. When that one Umbralific happens in the command phase before Cabal, so then you lose 2 points because you need to be somewhere else. I get it, it's a balance. I definitely think it's fine, but it's still kind of annoying because it prevents me from wanting to use things like rhinos and stuff, because there have been some cool ideas I have heard about, including not just the Ahriman bomb squad, which if you do Ahriman bomb, it's 4 Cabal points you're wasting by having him in the rhino. Because it's 3 for him and 1 for the squad. And then what you're gonna do instead, what some people have done, is a rhino with 2, what were they? Infernal Masters. You put 2 Infernal Masters in a rhino. That means you have 2 psychic, overcharged, just murderous flamethrowers that can be fired from this rhino. And if you roll the damage roll, the rhino takes the damage, not the guy inside. So it's just like this self-healing vehicle just flying around being like double flamer, and then it just flies off. Dude, it's great. No, yeah, Cabal points. That's why I build low Cabal points. I try to build my list around being like, I don't care about Cabal points. If I can get 5 in a round, that's great. If I can get 7, cool. If I can get 9, excellent. But all the people out there who are like, you need 25 Cabal points to run a Thousand Suns list at all times, holy God, I don't want to do that. I just don't want to do that. I've done really well with random stuff in the Thousand Suns list too. I've played into Imperial Guard armor. I should probably start cleaning so I can get this box up. I've gone into Imperial Guard armor, right? Straight up Imperial Guard armor. With a list that I think at most had 8 Cabal points on the field at any one point in time. It started with a squad of Terminators in reserve. It started with, there was an on-foot Demon Prince, so he was actually on field, which is good. But I also did mostly Zangors, Zangor Enlightened, Zangor Shamans, and Zangor Shamans are only 1 Cabal point each, so not a lot. Not the best. Zangors only get Cabal points if they're on a point and you roll for them. So, not the best. Like, a lot of this just mathematically, conceptually, not good. 2 Helldrakes. 2. You heard me. 2. The thing is, I got the first initiative roll, and my Helldrakes were both in hover mode, which means they were both on the field. So I had 2 20-inch movement assault machines that exist only to bother people. That's the whole point that they were there for, was to get to someone and bother that someone. So I got their Rogel Dorn in melee turn 1, and I got their frickin' one of their basilisks in melee turn 1. Actually, I got a basilisk and a squad because the squad was right next to the basilisk, so I charged both. I put them both in melee. Turn 1, the guy was just fully in melee with me. Not much you could do about it. And then I had the -1 to hits. I had Forge Fiends. I had Chaos Spawn. Let me think. I had 1 Exalted Sorcerer. No Magnus, no Ahriman. No Rubric Marines. I think I had maybe at total at any point in time on the field, maybe like 7 or 8 Cabal points. And I kicked his ass. I wiped the floor with him. There was literally nothing he could do. I shut him down, and everything he shot at with me went just not to the good places. The -1 to hit really negated almost all of his power. Not only the -1s to hit, but the fact that he was thinking, he was like, all right, I can still shoot those Helldrakes in combat with my vehicles. And I was like, yeah, at -1. Not only that, but if you want to shoot that tank's blast weapons, because most of his tanks had really strong blast weapons, I was like, you cannot shoot their blast weapons at my thing in melee with you. You have to shoot them somewhere else at -1 to hit. So you don't even get the full benefits of all your guns on these vehicles. And you're trying to roll off all these 1 things that you are giving your ballistic skill bonus to. That's cool. But it's also -1 to hit. So you're still hitting at what your regular ballistic skill would have been anyway. Which isn't great on a... If you're not familiar, regular ballistic skill on Imperial Guard, not great. It's no bueno. It's just no bueno. Let me clear these guys out. I gotta get these guys somewhere else. And that list worked. I did not think it was gonna work, but it worked. Friggin' 7 Cabal points. All I ever really used with those Cabal points was a double move. That was it. I kept doing it. Every single time I needed to be somewhere, I would move the Archer. I had the squad of Archer Enlightened. I would move them. I think they go 11 inches normal. And then I would double move them. So 22 inches to get them to places they needed to go. That was it. I gotta be at a corner. Guess what? I'm there. Oh, I gotta be engaged on all fronts. Guess what? All quarters. I have them. I'm gonna go put this guy back and then we'll get started. Let me actually grab one of these little knights that have the tail so I can at least see what the tail is supposed to look like. So many models back here. Oh, the castigator box. I'm gonna need this. You, come with me. Vet Garter done. So this is what we're doing. Which looks like I actually do tone the gold in here. Everything else is just flat gold, and then we do moon dust into green on the tip. Easy enough. Airbrush box, homemade. And then I gotta go get the gold airbrush paint. So I put a HEPA filter in the back of a big plastic box just to catch all the pigment. Cut a hole in the back. A quick little build. I might eventually get an actual friggin' hood, but I don't know. Maybe. I don't think I really need one necessarily right now. But we got to do all of these dogtails black through the airbrush, which means I need cleaner. What else we got? Flow improver, probably not. And you guys will actually get to see this. I'm gonna mute my microphone while I'm doing it. because this is a lapel mic, which is why you're hearing basically everything I do. It's good because it keeps everything kind of toned the same, but it's also bad because you hear everything I do. This thing hears everything going on. So let me grab the gold. Good. Let's get started. This could be good. So what I've started to do with my airbrush recently is I actually separate it, like, completely. Or not completely, I guess, but mostly. Where's the nut? The nut. I break down the back of it. I feel like there's a crack in this. I don't know. So I break it down to about this. I actually pull everything out after cleaning it. Because I found that over time, even no matter how much I clean it, I always feel like when I come back to work on it, the actual pin in it is like too dry to the connecting point. I gotta get lube, basically. Lube. But if this is already in there, if I pull this back, it pulls it, and then it just sits, and it stays stuck. So I have to, like, take it all apart anyway. It's super obnoxious. Normally what I do in preparation is I get a little bit of the cleaning solution. A lot of cleaning solution actually has a little bit of airbrush lubricant in it to help out. Clean the needle. In we go. All the way through. Just check the front, make sure I did clean it properly. Yep, good. Good, good, good. I then actually put a little bit of cleaner in the pin, lean it back a little bit. I kind of just pull some through to clean that middle bit. The frickin' gasket that holds it all together. That way it actually moves properly. See? Goes right back. I am probably going to need to vortex mix this primer, because this primer has been sitting around for a bit. You can kind of see that it's separated. I use Stynylrez primer. You can kind of see that foam at the top. That's the thinner. It comes pre-thinned for airbrush use. So let me just pull this over. I got my little vortex mixer that has a tiny wire for some reason. Vortex mixers, ladies and gentlemen. If you do not have one yet, save your wrist. Help your paints out greatly. You don't even need like a serious all-purpose one, like one of the crazy ones. I got one that's just meant for basic lab mixing. It was like $25. That's all. It was just 25 bucks. All right, let me cork the airbrush, turn it on. If you have an airbrush with a tank in it, brrr. Avenger chain cannons go brrr. If you have an airbrush with a tank, if you don't know, usually the tank has a cork on it somewhere. You're gonna wanna pull that cork after every session to drain the water out of it so it doesn't rust the inside. This was something back in the day when I worked at a video game repair store that we didn't do. So We had an airbrush. We didn't have an airbrush. We had an air tank, which we used to dust out anything. Like we used to dust out all the tech we were repairing. We never thought about the cork on the bottom because when you get it, you pull it out of the box and you don't look underneath it. You just put it down on the ground and you're like, yeah, we got an airbrush thing. We got a compressor. This is cool. And then you just use it for years. And then one day we were using it and you started hearing the noise of the air coming out of it. Like it was just like, and it basically rusted a hole from the inside through because we never drained the water out of it. It just had this like small pool of water in the bottom of it from the air, like the actual moisture in the air. All right, I'm gonna turn off my mic. I'll keep an eye on chat. I'll occasionally turn it back on if we're gonna chill and talk, but we need to get this underway like now. All right, I'm gonna wait for it to dry a little bit so I can do the other part. Normally a basic coat of black is pretty quick to dry though. So yeah, while we wait, the goal is almost every single one of these models has this little like butt end thing back here. Hang on. Did I do that? No, I did that in silver. Okay. That's fine. So, yeah, we just need to get these single-coated gold. Then we use snakebite leather on the under component here to tone it. All right. Moondust yellow on all the tips. Fluorescent green over top of it. And then you're done. Then I just gotta kind of check the tails. We'll level kind of how the tail is, because I think I have a bunch of excess at the back that I'm gonna cut off, probably. We'll have to manually basically glue it, probably hit it with the brush primer, which is the same primer that we're using anyway. It works as both. Brush primer it a little bit. I might hit them with another coat of varnish then, if this is the case, because I think I want to put it on them, then varnish. Which means I would just basically take the varnish and hit just the tail region, because these are already varnished. You can do more. It doesn't really cause too much of a problem, but like, I don't really want to just hit them all with it. Just basically tail, both sides done. Put it in a box somewhere or move it somewhere. And then, yeah. So these are armigers, actually. These are the converted armigers that I use. I have 4 war dogs and 4 armigers right now. I want to say 6, 7, yeah, 4 war dogs, 4 armigers. Eventually, I'm probably going to fall into the trap of wanting to get frickin' 12 war dogs and call it. So I think I actually cut here, right? Like I cut this spot, so I don't think I need this. Or I cut like back here a little bit, I want to say. We'll touch it up. Well, we're going to hit it with a little bit more black. Just a little bit extra. All right, let them dry. Drain the airbrush. We actually use a dump cup for this. So one thing I've noticed with airbrushes, to those who are new to it or looking to get one, if you look around the internet towards people who are like, this is how you handle an airbrush, this is how you clean an airbrush, this is how you deal with an airbrush, this is all the cool stuff you can do with an airbrush, you'll notice that they all tend to say different things. You might think to yourself, oh, well then some of them are wrong. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you none of them are, and you should probably take that into account if you're gonna get an airbrush. Look at everything that everyone says. Test things they say, because what some people have discovered, because a lot of people will be like, oh, okay, if you're using Stynylrez, you need to use 2 parts thinner, 1 part flow improver or something in it. Here's the thing. There's a guy who, actually a chemist, who talked about this. Apparently air pressure changes this. So there's no one size fits all thing. Like air pressure will change, like your elevation will change how the pigment kind of splits from the thinner, how much you need to mix it, whether or not a smooth amount is going to come out of your airbrush. Like, there's this big list of things that makes it like a little weird, makes it not like a common easy thing to point to be like, oh yeah, this will work 100% of the time. So you do need to experiment a little bit. You're going to need to figure out exactly how your airbrush is going to work where you are at that moment. Oh, I can throw this white out. That is empty. So yeah, just take anything you hear about how to handle an airbrush with a grain of salt. Let me keep cleaning it. All right, now we slap on some Vallejo gold. This is the universal gold that everything in my army, both Thousand Sons and Knights, all have on them. I have actually figured out some painting gold mixes that look very similar to Vallejo gold over black. That way, I've definitely put way too much in there. Oh well, wasted gold. I've definitely, like, for my demons, I want my demon trim to feel very much like the gold trim on my Thousand Sons or my Knights. One of my old Knights I didn't figure it out on. Like, I kind of knew, but I didn't. So I did this like lighter brown as a base, and then I hit the gold over it, and he looks different. I'm okay with it because he is kind of his own unit. So you look at it, you're like, all right, yeah, I get it. But if I put Ahriman next to my Castigator, they both feel very same. So like, I kind of like that about it. But here we go, gold application. dad joking me right now? This guy hitting me with dad jokes? You memeing, bro? Dropping the sick memes? Literally for a second when I looked over and I read what you wrote, I thought you were about to drop some World Eater lore on me. Like you're about, oh dude, did you hear about the recent... Okay. All right, so the question. I can paint them now and then try to apply them to all the war dogs. What time is it? 2? Maybe we do that. I'm gonna have to hold off Mologs. If I can get all these dogs done today, we could technically start on Mologs on like Thursday in the same fashion. I already have kind of the plan in my head of how we're gonna do it. But honestly, I should probably just go grab all my war dogs, get the glue out, get the scraper, get to work. Oh, you're talking from like boxing or AEW or something. Okay. I mean, it is a thing. I think we've talked about this before. Human beings in feats of competitive combat act weird. Like we do things where we delve into like some kind of crazy part of our psyche. Not just for the people competing, but for the people watching the competition, right? It's actually a little bit crazy. All right, airbrush box. Closed up, going away. What's up, go for it? How's it going? I think our Discord had its inaugural tabletop simulator game the other day. We have a couple people. We have one person who's a games master. I might make a couple other people games masters. But they decided to take on some tabletop simulator games, which was pretty cool. Holy crap, I have 41 messages. Hang on. Differential scoring. Basically, you start at 10-10, slide the score based on differential. Yep. Lists are due tomorrow. Did we final word on fully painted? If not, I believe fully painted is not required. Scoring looks standard for team-based events. Allows some to be sacrificial lamb to lose, but at least make some points. Fully painting is not required. Questions about lists. Funny you should say that. Yeah, man. I'd be cool with people just using the Discord and Meet get tabletop simulator games going. It's fine. Not all of us are surrounded in tons of people who play, so it's good to have at least an option. Oh, okay. So one of the guys in our group who usually plays Custodes, but I mean, Custodes as they are now, he doesn't like them. He is asking our Death Guard player who used to play Necrons until he realized Necrons were way too powerful and then decided to go Death Guard, what he should bring. So they're just going back and forth right now, which is cool. Ooh, they're going to try to do Blackstone. Neat. Let me go grab the knights we need to apply these to. I can still talk while doing this. The airbrush is already cleaned and emptied. Everything's good. I can break it down a little bit more, though. I wonder how far... If you guys can still hear me now, I am about as far away from my stuff as I'm going to ever be. So that's kind of cool that you could hear here. All right. Grabbing War Dogs. I don't need all of their tails in, but might as well get them all in, because I technically need one less tail than I have. We're actually going to zoom out for this, I think. Hooah! About right there. Is it really dark for you guys? I think my monitor is just on the dark end. Let me see what that looks like. It's okay. Not the best, not the worst. Yeah. I keep hitting this guy's freaking vulture on his shoulder. It's going to break off at some point here. I can feel it. I do feel like we're going to be trimming a bit off of these, most likely, because this isn't really useful. Get this over here. So yeah, we need snakebite leather, moondust yellow, some people, when I talk to them and they give me their recipe for their neon colors, here, I actually have it. They'll tell me flash gits or doom or demonic. That's this one. It's pretty good, but it is very saturated in yellow. The reason I like using moondust is because it's closer to white, which means it actually pulls the color you apply on top of it closer in that direction, while still allowing for like yellow highlights. Whereas this kind of dominates whatever you're doing with the yellow pigment. So you kind of get a little screwed over from it. Let me get my other stuff back. But yeah, if this is the case, then most likely on Thursday, once these guys are all done, if they're not done today, they'll be done Thursday, we will start taking a look at, I want to say, the Underworld stuff, because I've had an idea, and I'm going to need to double check. I need to look into the way to get this to record a separate thing, because I should be able to record directly to my hard drive from OBS without the little guy in the bottom corner over here. That way I can have a folder of B-roll so that if I ever want to put together a, hey, this is how I airbrushed Molog's Maw to get like the weird flesh tone look, I can do that. No problemo. All right, there we are. We'll try to two-tone the fluorescence on their tail. Where's my chartreuse? No, where's the chartreuse? Actually, though, that's orange, that's orange. Magentas. I tried my best to keep all of the fluorescents near each other. And now here we are, struggling. There it is. Okay. Let's actually take apart the airbrush first, so I don't forget. Backing, nut, needle. And that's that. So that's good. I like this setup. We always had that issue originally where I just couldn't show you guys my airbrush stuff because the camera was always too far away, which kind of sucked. Kind of sucked a little bit because I like showing you guys stuff. I like showing you processes and stuff. So I ended up doing like airbrush days. Oh no, I might be out of moon dust. Okay, we got enough. Oh no, though. This is getting close to empty. Pretty sure Fanatic has a moon dust in it, so I might just look to see if I can single purchase Fanatic moon dust. Is this blurry? No. I feel like it's too dark though. It looks so light for me. I think why does no one tell me the music's over? Yeah. Sitting in here in silence. This is like, what's happening? So yeah, released the Castigator video showing off how we made that. Not a lot of viewership on it. Again, I'm kind of used to it. I wanted to get a couple hobby videos out this year just to have them kind of in the portfolio, I guess. We'll try to get back to strategy and game videos pretty soon here. Just gotta work through it. Because we've got other teams to go over for Kill Team. Could probably do like a Scouts overview video. We just finished all these other teams as well. Oh god, Orc Commandos. Just finished those Vet Guard. And these are teams that keep winning tournaments. I think they could be pretty good to, you know, show off, go over some strategies. Maybe crack into why they still do really well in tournaments. Double check, make sure. Got the underpart for all of them. So who would a Nurgle champion be, Stim? Is it a person who's like, is it anybody maybe who posts YouTube videos up talking about how taking a shower is actually a bad thing or something? Cleanliness is actually a cultural problem. Nurgle champion. Wasn't that a thing that was trending on Twitter for a little bit there? There was like a news post that went up talking about how taking a shower is something you shouldn't always have to do. And everyone's immediate response was, yeah, I mean, I guess you could go outside smelling like crap, making everyone uncomfortable. If that's the way you want to play it. Nurgle champion. All right, so we tone our metals. Because I hate when metal all looks exactly the same. So we actually get usually an extra little bit of toning paint. Go over areas so that it at least looks multi-tiered multifunctional. I think originally the idea was to do this in black, but then I just opted out. Just didn't look right. Dude, right? Imagine smelling so bad that your opponent can't make good tactical decisions. Is that, like, a positive? Like, what if that was a thing? What if you just showed up to the game and you were like, hey, I have trained. I have learned to live with my stench while simultaneously making it unbearable for others. Enjoy trying to focus on the game when every time you inhale near me, you feel it in the back of your eyeballs. Like, ugh. Who messaged me? Oh, okay. But at what cost? At what cost? Like the Thanos meme. You won the tournament. What did it cost you? Everything. Land Raiders are good, dude. They are so good in this meta. One of the teams that I'm going up against, or potentially going up against at the Saturday tournament, I saw the guy. Like, he was already at another tournament this weekend. Like, this past weekend. War Games Live was actually showing this tournament, and apparently he's going to be at this one next. And he plays Imperial Fist, but he plays the Fire Lance, the one that you use, and he has 3 Land Raiders. I am not looking forward to that game. Like, if I get pit against him, I'm not going to have a fun time. Even with the Desecrator, even with frickin' all the Huntsman Meltas and everything, I'm not going to have a fun time against it. I can feel it. Triple Land Raider. Why? Why? I think that's what put me over the end of the of figuring out if I wanted to meme list or if I wanted to actually real list. Yeah, no. The first 3v3 tournament I ever did, the Tau player we had, who was all tanks, went up against a Black Templar Halbrook list with a Land Raider, and that Land Raider apparently, I guess, was the reason why Halbrook got to his side in a single turn, and then just ended most of his army. Like, Halbrook popped out and, like, killed 2 tanks, man. That squad is crazy. That is not a squad you deal with in a day. So Halbrook was already in, killing tanks turn 1, and then turn 2 tabled him. Like, it was just over. Yeah, flamers are the Overwatch weapons, or there's two lines of thought now for Overwatch. There's the flamers, of course, but then there's also saturation fire, like real saturation fire. Frickin' mech boys with Badrick, which is Badrick still around? I keep hearing rumors from the orc side of things that Badrick is gonna be Legends now. Like, what's going on over there? Orcs. Did he update the orc stuff recently? No, he only has the index. No, yeah, Infernus has the Battle Shock function, which can be super useful if something charges into you, because if you make them Battle Shock and they fail their Battle Shock, if they were planning on charging you and doing something with a command point, they can no longer do it. That's what makes them pretty good. As well, if you drop them on a point and then flamer a unit, you can force them to Battle Shock, and if they Battle Shock, then you most likely have that point captured, which is pretty good. It's pretty pog. All right, we're going to apply the Chartreuse. Really push this to a highlighter yellow. Oh my god. But yeah, Firestorm Lance, you want to be on people. That's why I was saying you might want Impulsors, but if you want to fill Land Raider, because Land Raiders are very meta right now, if you can fill Land Raider, it's really good. Super good. But yeah, so it's either Flamers for Overwatch, which is really good, or things like the Mech Boy Badrick combo, because Mech Boy Badrick is, I want to say, they're sustained. Like, if you shoot something with it, you're gonna get like 40 shots, right? Like, it's 40 shots, and every 6 you roll is a sustained as well, and then there's like reroll hits. So you can double filter 40 shots with reroll hits, and every 6 you roll as an Overwatch is actually 2 hits. And the actual stats on those guns are really good. Like, genuinely devastatingly good. There is not much that can survive a full volley of Mech Boy guns with Badrick in the squad. And Badrick, I think, can pop for a bonus, and the bonus is actually like really good. So that's kind of the two natures of the game for Overwatch. I think I kept playing against people who don't take Overwatch specific squads, and then they still try to Overwatch me with stuff. Like, I ran it like a tank, they Overwatched me with the tank, and it didn't have any flamers, it didn't have any like really good saturation fire weapons. It did actually nothing. Like, he spent a command point for 0 actual damage. Oh, thanks, Follow the Fun. My channel's not really a hobby channel, or at least it didn't start as a hobby channel. I kind of started it as a battle report and tactics channel. So the algorithm kind of has me in as battle reports and tactics type stuff. So whenever I'm like, hey guys, check out hobby, it gets weird. Definitely gets weird. And I accept it. I have to build up the hobby side for interest to get people to want to check out my stuff. I should probably start putting out some more strategy videos. See if I can get some cross traffic. But yeah, man, glad you liked it. I'm going to be using that night in an upcoming tournament this weekend. So we're actually painting all of these Mauler Fiend tentacles. We're going to put them on these guys' tails. Because I did it to 2 of my armigers, and I really like it. So that's what we're going to do. Speaking of which, let me double check something. YouTube Studio. 'Cause I'm not sure if I changed the I'm not sure if I changed the hashtags attached to this video. I might have. Conversion. Oh yeah, I did. Okay. He was fun. He's going to be used in this game. This is the full list. I talk in that video about how the list I used against the Orc local player was kind of like a hybrid of the actual list that I wanted to run, but I wanted to use Kairos because I've owned a Kairos and I've only ever used Kairos in like 2 AOS matches that weren't even real AOS matches. It was me and my friend trying some stuff out, trying to figure the rules out. That was all it was. And like, I've never used them in 40k despite having owned that model for quite some time. All right, now we use the fluorescent green. Try to spread it out, get it to swirl a little bit. Best part about high flow, if you push things just right, it's sort of like mists. Looks really good. Well, thank you. We do a lot of the hobby stuff on stream. Like Mondays, Thursdays, Fridays, I try to stream around this time, usually starting at 11 Eastern. I try to go for 3, maybe 4 hours. We get projects done. We've got a lot of projects still to go. I've got 1 whole extra kill team that I got to do. I can show you what we finished recently. Literally as we started the stream today. We finished these guys. That garden. Just finished their bases up. We finished Crude up before them. We're going to be finishing up Breachers afterwards, which will have me all cut up with all the kill teams that we have on hand. But before that, we're actually going to take a crack at some of the Underworlds models, because Underworlds, I had a lot of fun at that last Underworlds tournament. I actually did really well at it too. It's a pretty easy game to pick up, while still having a really good skill ceiling. I'm gonna actually, the next video I do is probably gonna talk about Underworlds a bit to try to bring it to people who maybe haven't seen it yet, or maybe have seen it as like a box, but they think like, oh, I don't I don't want to pick up another game that's going to take like 4 hours to play because it's Games Workshop and that's how these always work. Even the skirmish games are like an hour and a half long minimum. No, Underworlds takes about 30 minutes to play a single round. It's great. So good. Alright, tails prepped. Now I need the razor blade, and glue, and scraper. So my scraper's here. Which glue do we want to use? Do we want to use Tamiya for this? I feel like I've never had a good experience with Tamiya. I'm not gonna lie. Razor blade. I know Tamiya is good, but for some reason, every time I've ever used Tamiya, like, I'll let it sit, I'll hold it together, and then it'll be fine, it'll hold on its own. Day later, I'll touch it and it'll fall off, and I don't know why that is. So yeah. We need to kind of like cut it. I wonder if getting trimmers is going to be a better idea for this. We'll try trimmers. Very least I can just fix it up a little bit, clean it up a little bit. Because we might have to brush on. Yeah, we're probably gonna have to brush on some black. Follow it up with some gold, and then that's fine. But before that point, just need to make sure that these fit kind of the way they're supposed to. Scrape some of this paint off so I can get to the plastic. I need to declog this, yep. Goal is to glue it in. Let it kind of settle. I need a little more. Oh God. All right, I'm gonna let that dry as we go. We'll just let them dry. Clean up. I knew we were going to run into some problems. Maybe there's a different tail that's better for it. We can go on an individual basis, maybe. It's starting to stick. I just gotta get it to actually hold. I love this. I love that I figured this out. All on my own, no help from anyone. Because it was actually during the streams where we did the Cerastus where I was like, I wonder what we could do to these war dogs to make them look more chaosy. And then I had all the Mauler Fiend lashes out. We tinkered around with it for like a split second, and it just worked right away. It was just like, yeah, this will work. Just do it. Don't think, just do. Ooh, that's a really good one. This is a really good frickin' tendril. Might work best on this guy, if it can fit. Ooh. We have to do it low, but yeah, it'll fit. Let me clear these things. And this is just kind of a reminder, man. Don't be afraid to go back with things you've already built and finished. Right? You can still tinker. You can still do some cool stuff. There's a whole lot of videos on YouTube that shows people kind of buying old models that somebody had and then just resurrecting them as something new and cool. I just gotta get this to line up perfectly. Like, this is it right here. This is the position. No, don't fall. You were perfect. So close. Like, because it holds well right here. Like, it's pretty lined up. It just needs to dry. Do we try with the Tamiya to like get a little bit of like an initial meld or something? Let me grab the Tamiya. Ugh. Oh, Tamiya, so strong. Jesus. Instant glue high. It's the real reason we all do this this hobby thing. Quick and easy access. Pretty simple here. Two more. Okay, so we need to be discerning with this. Is there a gnat down here? Because this tail kind of works for both. So if this tail doesn't, okay. Okay, we're good. We're good on either. Sweet. The usual outcome in situations like this is you always get to that last guy and the change, the adjustment is just not, it's not lined up. Like, it's just not good. You look around and you realize like one of the first tails you glued onto one of them would have been perfect for that one, but you kind of screwed up. But this one actually worked out in our favor, which is good. Okay. Got a gnat. God damn it. It's a problem when you live so close to a frickin' river. Even a stream. No, you're perfectly positioned. Just glue, please. Please. This is actually perfect. This one looks so perfect. Dude, tails are great. Tails are in. Finally got rid of pretty much all of the Mauler Fiend parts. Which were overwhelming my bits box. Dude, if I'm going to lose at this 4v4 tournament, I want my team to look good while I do it. Facts. I want to stand there proudly. We got to figure out strategy though. We got to look at it. Because the general idea is that I always take engage on all fronts because I'm planning on spreading out my executioners to screen my backline, and then I'm planning on wrecking ball, using my Cerastus as a wrecking ball. With his brigand squad. And then I have turn 2, I'll have 2 executioners that'll, or not executioners, huntsmen, that'll come in off the table edge. I'm revealing strategy. There we go. Now I might tack it a little bit with Tamiya, because I do notice that Tamiya occasionally like reinforces this. It's usually pretty good for that. So I feel like I'll be scoring from turn 1 strategically. I'll be scoring engage on all fronts because the plan is to Cerastus bomb through basically middle or one of the flanks. I need to just look and be like, okay, we're going on a flank, and then I go the flank. Cerastus leads, brigands follow, brigands dump damage into units. Cerastus does the same and then proceeds to run into combat. It's kind of the goal, kind of the hope. Boom. All right, now we need the gold that we already had out. Good. We need a little bit of black. And we're just going to give it a second. We're going to talk a little bit while this dries, because I don't want to just start painting into glue as it's drying. That would be stupid. Actually, I'm going to go to the bathroom. That's what I'm going to do. And then we'll finish these guys out. Because we are almost there, man. We are almost tournament fully ready. Fully ready in a happy situation. And then we can talk a little bit about strategy. And yeah, so give me a second. BRB, Candleman, Fade. BRB, guys. Okay. Actually, want to move Greg up to here. There we go. So we need the black, definitely. We have the gold. But let's wait a little bit. So the big difference in tactics and strategy is if you go fixed, you can't score as much, right? So if I'm going fixed, part of my thing is that I need to make sure I'm preventing my opponent from achieving their goals completely. It's a big thing. So if I take a look at Leviathan, each player can score a maximum of 50 VP from primary and or gambits. Any excess VP awarded are lost. Maximum number 40 VP for secondaries missions. Any excess VP awarded are lost for a possible of 90. If a player is using fixed, that player can score a maximum of 20 VP from each of the fixed mission cards. And they selected before the battle. Any excess VP awarded is lost. Every model in a player's army is painted, battle ready. Wait, so fixed and tactical are the same. You can still only score, unless they changed it, which I don't think they did, right? You can only score 40 VP. It's just that I can't, if I am dominating on the engage on all fronts side, I can't go over it, although I don't even think I can go over it anyway. Let's take a look at the cards. Secondary missions. Let's say I score engage on all fronts, all of it from turn 1 on. That's 5 turns at 4 VP Yeah, that's 20. So I have to max score it every single round to actually max score it. Most likely what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be getting 2 VP for like a round, and then maybe 4 VP for 2 rounds, and then maybe back to 2 VP. Which is honestly probably fine. But then the only other things I have access to, bring it down. I have to ask my opponent, monsters, vehicles, how many do they have? If they don't have a ton, then there's really no reason for me to really work on that, right? Because then you only get 2 VP per, not the extra that you would normally get, I think. If you were using tactical, you cannot score more than 8. Achieve your... if they're just filled with like tanks and monsters, I could go bring it down, and then for every tank I kill that's over 10 health, that's 3. 15 is 4. Ugh. Well, I mean, you get it for every single one you kill. It's not just once per turning point or phase or whatever. So if I kill 2 tanks in a round, I could get maybe above 10 health, 6 out of a single round. So bring it down, tanks, monsters, potential. There's potential there. Assassination, same thing. How many characters do you have? Oh, you got like 6? Yeah, I'll probably go assassination. Because you actually just straight score 5 VP for every one you assassinate, it looks like. No, 4. 4 for fixed. But that's still... it's not per phase. So if someone has 4 characters, and I think I can get to all of them... no, they need 5 characters. In order for me to max score on this, they need at least 5 characters. And if I think I can tear them down as an army to a point where I get the 5 characters, this is achievable. I don't get access to the tactical mission version where I get score on it if there are no characters. So... have been destroyed. Okay. Yeah, so I wouldn't get the true, the like easy benefit if... it's not like if my opponent has 1 character and I kill it only the 1 time. So I need at least 5 characters to potentially want to play assassination into someone. Behind enemy lines, this is the thing. I could behind enemy lines. I have, maybe, it depends on what my opponent is. I have the 2 huntsmen that are going to be coming in off the table edge. And most of the knights move pretty quickly. Like, they have really good movement. And if I'm wrecking balling into a corner, like if I'm running through mid towards the enemy line at the back, it's going to be turn 2 I'm going to be scoring on this, most likely. Because my brigands will move up along with my castigator. So as long as my castigator's in their zone, I'll score basic. And then if any of my brigands are in their zone, or I pull any of the huntsmen in, that's full score. So behind enemy lines is something I need to think about. The mission pack I looked at that we're doing, I think it's 1 quarter, 1 short table edge diagonal, 1 long table edge diagonal. Behind enemy lines would probably work best quarters, because the middle area is 18 inches, which means that's 1 round of movement for knights. Like you'll get through it into round 2 for the most part. And if you can charge with the castigator will be like right there. He'll be able to move in. Your opponent's gonna have to like hold him out to prevent these points. You will not get him in turn 1 though. But it's 5 rounds. A game is played in 5 rounds. Yeah, you still need to score full. You still need to score the 4 points every round to get it. It's such a struggle. But again, my thought process is, if I'm playing tactical and I get investigate signals, that's me losing a unit for that turn. I am going to lose the units shooting, and that's not good. Granted, I'm going to have huntsmen. Maybe that's fine to drop a huntsman in and be like, all right, he's not going to shoot with his Melta. He's just going to get this done. But then I have a huntsman that's just sitting off to the side. And I kind of want to prefer putting my huntsman places that matter. Which, again, behind enemy lines would be great if I could clear an area of the back line utilizing my castigator or whatever fire to like wipe out 1 squad to open up a pocket in the opponent's zone to then drop a huntsman. because then I just have a huntsman in the enemy line. I have them in the engage on all fronts function. The trick, I guess, would be cleanse. Cleanse is an interesting concept. I don't think we have the missions that that cleanse really works with. There's a mission type where you actually make an objective. You use an action to make an objective, and then you can cleanse it. I don't think we're doing that here, so I don't need to worry about that as a fixed. Storm hostile, maybe. Maybe. Because storming hostile is just about holding all points versus your enemy or taking points from the enemy. Which I feel like if I go second, right, I can maybe Wrecking Ball into an objective that one of them's on to get this. But you don't know, right? You don't know if you're going first or not before you pull, right? If I go second, I might just do Storm Hostile. Determined attacker, defender, yeah, you don't know who goes first. Select secondaries. That kind of sucks, actually. All right, hopefully these are fairly dry. We'll start with the one we began with, because he should be the most dry. Maximum dry. I'm trying to figure out why it seems so dark. I might just need to get a light on the other side, help out. I mean, I have one. Yeah, we'll figure it out. All right, step one, black paint. Small brush. Goal is to basically go around, hit any spots that look like I maybe scraped a little too much. Good. Numero dos. What time is it? How is it almost 4 o'clock? Oh no. I'm running behind. Oh no. Got this guy right. Yeah, good. We are almost done, ladies and gentlemen. If my metrics are to be believed, mostly gentlemen. Break the vulture. Dude, it really does. All right, little touch-ups of black, done. Little hits of gold. Using the Vallejo airbrush gold because it is the perfect gold for what we're doing here. I'm just gonna go over, re-prep the gold. I'll varnish these later. I might actually come back here tomorrow and do some stuff off stream, including varnishing stuff, getting some things put up, putting some stuff away. I don't need to worry about varnish today. I might also, I'm not gonna lie, I love this this So Flat Black. I might actually redo all the base rings in So Flat Black for all my knights, just to kind of update that function on them. All right, once these are done, I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna cut stream. Hopefully you guys check out the video. I'm hopefully gonna get this Underworlds one out by next week. Discord, link below. People are starting to pop off, getting games off and stuff and having fun. So that's cool. I like that. Stream again Thursday, most likely. Stream Friday, maybe. Maybe. That's a tentative one, because that's going to be the day before the tournament. So we'll see what's up. And yeah, I'm going to put them together. I'm actually going to get all of them together. I'm going to get the entire list built the way it's supposed to be played. Oh, you liked the, I'm not buying it. So, game over. Thanks for watching the video moment. The slow pan out showing that the box is in the background. But yeah, I'm going to take a picture of what they all look like as the list. And I'm going to post it up on Discord to show you guys what I'm taking. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chilling. Thanks for talking. Bit of a slow day, but, you know, we have fast days. We have slow days. It's all good. Till next time, guys. Later.